Hi, this is Damien Ritchie for EDL 854 Module 1. A little bit about myself. I'll start with my family. So I have two daughters. I have Colette and Talia. One's in second grade, one's in kindergarten. They are both a handful, even though they have cute little smiles in that picture. Um, there's a picture of me and my lovely wife, Melissa, who's a speech language pathologist. So we're kind of similar fields. I do special education. And so we can bounce ideas or talk shop at dinner table sometimes, which is actually really helpful for me. We live in Quincy, which is just south of Boston. You can see Boston skyline right there in that picture. We're a coastal city, and we were founded in 1625 by a pilgrim that was kicked out of Plymouth Plantation. The city's gonna have its 400th birthday party soon, which is cool. There's a little shot of our little neighborhood park in Marymount. Um, where Quincy is in Massachusetts relative to Boston. Um, for my undergrad, I went to Suffolk University many years ago, graduated in 2003. I got my master's from Cambridge College in special education in Cambridge, Mass. And other than that, I ref football for a while. I coach football now for the past 5 years. Really enjoy doing that. Uh, for some hobbies, I do woodworking and my wife recently got me into Muay Thai a little over a year ago, but it's great exercise, so I like doing it. And of course, my favorite thing to do is spend time with my family. For where I work in Rockland, Massachusetts. They like to say, "Welcome to the Rock." Rockland is a very much a blue-collar, tough town, and it's a great place to work. Um, there's some demographics from the city in 2010. A lot has changed since 2010, and a lot of the school doesn't look like that demographic. The younger generation is definitely a lot different than what's this than the older one. There's a picture of Rockland doing its holiday stroll, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Just a little idea, of what the town's like. It's um, it's about 17,000 people. It's surrounded by other towns that are actually way more affluent than it. Like their household income is 2 to 3 times more actually. But they do, cute things like that with it's basically like a Christmas parade for the kids and Project Pumpkin and Halloween and stuff like that, and like Rockland Day in the summer. So it's a really, really cool community to be part of. I love this quote from a local reporter. He posted on Twitter. I think it really sums up perfectly what it's like to work with Rockland staff, who most of them are from the town that I work with, and the kids. The kids are great to work with. But just tough blue collar kids who give it their all. Uh, as for some insight about the school, like I said, I'm a special education teacher in the high school. I mostly co-teach math. Our enrollment's 656, which isn't the smallest school in the state, but it's one of, a 600 kid school is considered a small school in Massachusetts standards. Uh, we're about 76% white, 30% economically disadvantaged, 40% high needs, which for my state, high needs would mean it's a mixture of, if DCF is involved, if your special education and your social economic status is, falls under a certain category. So 40% high needs with, that's almost 50% of the school. So, with your eyeball test, you can tell some kids come from, a tougher background than others. We're 15% special education, which is about state standard, 14 to 1 teacher ratio, which is pretty good. Uh, Proficient, which is the next level up from passing for the MCAS, which is the statewide test that you need to get a diploma in math. We're at 92% for English, 75 for science, and 76 for math, and that's all a little bit above state average. Our graduation rate's only 91% though. For a small school, could be better, but Rockland has some problems. If you're looking at graph on the right, they have an opioid epidemic going on. Rockland has overdoses twice as much as the next one on the list. So it is something that I am seeing in school that I've had students go through that, be it either them or their family. So it is tough, and it's something that like kids know about, and we're very conscious of it as staff to deal with it. So the 10 takeaways from the sources we read, I figured I'll keep everybody engaged and I'll do it like a David Letterman style top 10 list. So we can start. At number 10, took my takeaway, school principals need management skills. Obviously, you need to manage people, students, curriculum, all that good stuff that you expect with education, but finance is another part of it. And depending on your district, the amount of financial responsibility you have is going to vary, but it needs to be there. So, to sell yourself as a new principal, it definitely would benefit you to, have some management skills and fiscally speaking, because I'm pretty sure most educators don't have that on the top of their list. Nobody gets into education thinking like, oh, I really want to crunch, numbers. So it is the reality of the situation. Number 9, there are a lot of chefs in that budget kitchen. So who has control of money in the schools? That article, it's who's saying where the money goes. You have principals, administrators, the school committees. For us, the unions. You throw in, state senators, governors, federal. There's a lot of people deciding on how much and where that money goes in schools. And what's sad is you as a principal or as a school leader knows exactly where it should go and might not have any say in it. And depending on what district you're in, you might be dealing with a school committee that's so removed from knowing what a school needs that they're the ones deciding the budget. So it can be really tricky to navigate that time, and that's exactly a classic example of why you really need to start building, strong relations with these stakeholders. Number 8, handling finances can become overwhelming for a principal. Like I said earlier, I don't think crunching numbers and balancing books is something that anybody that's an aspiring educator or getting into education thinks of, so it's not top on your list of skills. That being said, you have to do it. So most of us probably didn't major in accounting. So the lack of the background of financial literacy, my takeaway was this is something that's going to occupy a lot of your time, especially probably early on. And if you're in a district that you don't have an accountant or a bookkeeper to do that for you, and you're going to have to do it yourself, you're going to have to put aside a lot of time, probably, especially at first, to be able to handle that. And that, if not, it's going to take away from other responsibilities that you have. So this could, potentially throw a wrench in, your whole month if you need to, balance the budget for the following year and figure out where money's going. There's not much wiggle room. So, in one of the articles it mentioned, how this is public money. You get it from federal, from state. The people in the towns, taxes pay for the school's budget. People need to see where this money's going through, and in a sense, like it's not that it's micromanaged, but you need to definitely have clear paths and books of where that money's going. It's I can't stress that enough. It's public money. We're all public servants in a sense, and so that not just balancing that money, it's appropriately spending it is going to be a really important factor as well. Number 6, bureaucracy at its finest. So previously to Rockland, I worked in a district, Cambridge, which was very financially set. It's a big city, and you could add anything you want. You just had to do all this paperwork to get it. You could have stuff that you totally didn't need. You could have 3 projectors in your room. They didn't care. You just had to do all this paperwork together, be it the principal or be it a first-year teacher. Didn't matter. But dealing with finances, expect bureaucracy if you need to allocate more money for something. 5, strive for efficiency. In one of the articles, I started diving deeper into it, like with the links, and they said that a principal with more saying where the money goes becomes more efficient. But it also came from a study that had a lot of other countries, except the United States, which may have more federal money coming to their budgets than we would in the States, where I feel that we don't have a priority for federal or state money for schools. So I took that with a grain of salt. Of course, politicians know best. with ultimately the federal and state money is going to come from them. And so you have a whole bunch of people who are very removed from school or have their own opinions of education, and they're the ones that ultimately will decide where that money's going for the school, even though you're the person that probably best knows where that money should go in your school. Number three, one size certainly does not fit all. In the top right, you see a new high school that's being built in Massachusetts in Waltham. It's about $250 million, and yet there's still schools that are run down that were built in the 40s out here. So depending on the district you're going to, you may have a lot to spend, or you may have practically nothing to spend, but you need a lot to fix. So I know from talking with other peers, sometimes they spend the money to spend the money, because if they ask for less the following year, they never get it back, so they find pointless things to spend it on. Can't say that's the case where I am. Two, the per pupil allotment is a special education's nightmare. Like I said, as a special education teacher, and I feel bad for principals, you could have the entire budget set. Next thing you know, in August, 3 kids move into town. They need busing to outside placement, and next thing you know, you're dropping about $400,000 a year in residential living and everything else that comes along with that. So that can be a total nightmare, and I know that that can throw an entire wrench in the budget. And number one, I think my district is doing something right. So top is a photo of recently the town voted for an override to build a new elementary school, and the bottom is the town voting on where the money is being spent in schools. Everybody gets involved. Not all those people in the bottom there, that's just in the town auditorium. So it's very clear the town supporting the schools. They want to make it better. From speaking with the superintendent and the principals, that they feel that we have a limited amount of resources. That's a given, but the town is very supportive of making sure we have what we need. And if we don't, there's an entire organization designed to raise money for that. That's outside of the town resources. It's a private group, so I think down in Rockland they're doing well, and lucky to have that, I guess. The references of the articles, and also one of the articles actually had a different title, but it was the same article. And lastly, thank you, and I look forward to seeing everybody else's.